We're going to start off this morning with a pure pearl. Please take it and hide it somewhere in a place, secret place, and look at it frequently. Write it down, maybe. Revealed rightness releases relief. That's the talk. I could say good morning. Good morning. Revealed rightness releases relief. R. Now let's not glance at the pearl and then be distracted by something else. Let's look at it a little bit. Revealed rightness releases relief. Don't you want relief?
Yes.
Well, now you know how to get it. Revealed rightness. Not rightness that has been pushed down inside of you, where there's contradiction, which we'll cover eventually. Only revealed rightness is yours, right? If it isn't seen by you, how can it be yours? A pearl out in the ocean 1,000 miles away doesn't belong to you. You have to own it for yourself. Releases relief. And even the second part is very encouraging, isn't it? This means that the relief, the kingdom of heaven within is there, but we are doing something to prevent that higher emotional feeling of relief. I like that word so much. And one reason for it is because all of us know what it means. Oh, what a relief. I got rid of that problem, got rid of that troublesome person that I foolishly got involved with. Oh, what a relief to turn around and walk away and never have to look back, right? Have you ever had that relief? You've had it in one way or another. A hard situation of some kind. You're relieved because you know that your wrongness, the wrongness you had been dropped away in some way, and you walked away in great relief. All right. Revealed rightness releases relief. Write it down. R. Remember the 4 R's. That's always, I like to do that, as you know, every once in a while, to give you similarity in letters or words or even rhymes. That is a proper use of memory, of spiritual memory. So you see R, and you might say, what does that mean? Oh yeah, I remember what that means. Oh, I forgot that. How nice to know that I can have relief anytime I reveal rightness. And maybe that would set you off on right associative thinking, where you understand that your rightness is not rightness at all. Therefore, it has to be some higher kind, Something that's, something that is revealed, something that is new, something that is really exciting. Once upon a time, there was a lost, lonely, sad man. If you're a lady, you can make it a lady and make all the other characters ladies too if you wish, because the same thing applies. And he was seated alongside a country highway, a big long highway that went through the farmlands and woods where they grew harvests. And he was sitting by the side of the road, as human beings do, forlorn and desolate, and looking without seeing. There's a pretty river right in front of him. He didn't see the river. His unconscious attention was directed inwardly, and only a little flash of sunlight on the river water made him startle just a little bit, because he was sitting like that, right? He was seated there, and along came a couple cars loaded with men his own age. You can make it your age. Whatever your age is, that's the age of the man seated there, or the woman, and the people who came in the crowded cars. And they were yelling noisily and foolishly And they came where the man was seated by the side of the road, and they yelled, "Hey, what are you doing there?" You know. Have you ever noticed the rudeness of lost young punks, by the way? How rude they are. Such bad manners, how smart alecky they are. Can you believe that that is their God? And most of them don't change as they grow older. They simply change the nature of their smart alecky remarks. Young lost man sitting by the side of the road, he looked up. Most people, emotions and reactions are unseen by them. And of course, he didn't know anything about himself. But they yelled, "Hey, what are you doing there?" And they yelled at him. And he looked, somebody talk to me. There's something outside of this world than that horrible world that I live in. Something out there, a voice yelled at me. And he looked up and he saw the car filled with 10, 12 people of his own age. He said, "Come on, we're going on a long, interesting journey. We've got one seat left back there. Move over, Jim, move over." And so he, "Come on, get in the car." So he got in with him. Little bit of wrong relief already. Someone had accepted him. Someone had spoken to him first. See, he can't talk to anyone. He was too afraid to, too suppressed. Someone talked to him. Someone took the initiative. Someone did something that he should have done for himself, which is to be rightly, consciously outgoing. But he couldn't do that. He was too much. You see him walking the streets all the time, don't you? Got in the car, and off the car went, and quick introductions, and one of them had a little lunch, and he, "Hey, you want a sandwich? Here's a sandwich." Threw a sandwich over. And then they more or less ignored him, and that put him at ease too. He didn't want them to be thinking too much or asking personal questions. And he felt wrong relief, didn't he? You're already following, perhaps. So the car zoomed down the highways, and finally they pulled over to a little cut off on the road there. Because one of them said, "Hey, look at all those apples on the ground over there." There's a farmer had apple orchards over there. "Hey, look at those apples on the ground. Let's go get some apples. Come on, let's get out." So the man by the side of the road got out with them, but slower than they did. He got out and he followed them over, and there was a fence there. And there's also a sign that said, "No trespassing." They all scrambled over the fence. No one around. It was out in the outskirts. Nobody was around at all. They climbed over the fence and they picked up a bunch of apples, and they threw a few at each other, and they yelled out, and they threw a few against the tree and said, "There's apples on it." Got a bunch of apples, brought them back, climbed over the fence again, got in the car and zoomed off, yelling, munching apples. And he munched on an apple too, but sort of reflectively. On they went. By this time they knew his name well, so they called out his name. Let's call him Bill. "Hey, Bill, having a good time? Where are you from?" Casually, so not too much to scare him, because they weren't really interested anyway. But he felt part of the gang. He felt accepted. Car went on. Another cutoff, I saw a lake out there, small lake, private lake. There's a big sign that said "Private lake, no fishing." Oh, that was the signal, right? That was a signal to go fishing. So they climbed another fence, and they made up some awkward poles, and they had some hooks with them from past. Went up, fish, caught some fish. Didn't know what to do with them. Go back in the car and sped off again. He joined them, of course. Came another 100 miles. It's a long journey for people. 100 miles, and they came to another place where there's a lot of sheep out in the field. Hundreds of sheep grazing. And there was a fence there. "Hey, look at the sheep." They were city characters. They didn't know anything about farms or sheep or anything. But so it was naturally interesting to them. So they got out. They walked around the sheep a little bit and made little quotations about sheep and counting them to go to sleep and all that. Finally, they decided to leave. And one of them said, "Hey, it'd be fun to see what sheep do when they're not penned in." So they left the gate open. The sheep followed the one sheep out, wandered all over the road, A couple of cars came by, missed a few of them, just barely missed. And as they got back in their cars, they looked back and they had a terrific laugh over all the sheep wandering. They said, "We've liberated the sheep." They'd read a book somewhere and they wrongly used it, of course. We've set the sheep free. Went on their way. The man by the side of the road joined everything they did. He helped open the gate when it got a little stuck a little bit. And he yelled out too. But now we have to look at him a little closer. That night they had no place to stay. They didn't have any money. They didn't want to go out and get money the legitimate way, to work for it. They wanted to steal. They wanted to borrow, do anything but do the right thing on a certain level of life, which is to earn money in order to buy necessities of life. So they just stretched out on the ground with blankets out in a little place where they shouldn't have been. Another sign said no trespassing. And they kicked the sign over and laughed as it fell down. No one's going to tell us what to do. And they were seated around a little fire they had there at night. And our man by the side of the road couldn't join the circle. There's something in him that wouldn't permit his body to walk over and join in the crude jokes and the sex talk about girls and conquests. And he sat off to one side and back of him, and he reflected. And a certain thought was trying to get through to him, but he didn't know what it was. You ever had that? A certain powerful idea of some kind kept going after him, but he couldn't admit it. He couldn't understand it. He couldn't allow entrance of it, that is. Till it finally did come to him. Right, and there was, talk about the light from the campfire. The light in his mind went on 10 times that bright. When what he was trying to understand flashed open in an illumination of consciousness. And once that happened, and this is an interesting point, please remember this. When you have the light of understanding, it will speak for you, will even choose the words for you. See, the higher instructs the lower. It will guide you in the proper definition of what you've seen. That is, the light directs the mechanical forces. The conscious forces direct the mechanical, which is thought, which is the use of words, and so on. So, the light gave him the proper sentence that made everything clear to him. And here's what that very short sentence was. Wrong is wrong. When the two cars rushed up to him and skidded to a halt, almost going off into the ditch and raising dust that covered him and smothered him for a minute, his suspicions began. He knew he was getting mixed up with the wrong gang, didn't he? You remember that wrong gang you got mixed up with? Those wrong people that you went along with? Because they seemed so friendly and they seemed to like you. How far did you go, by the way? Before you saw what was happening to you, how reluctant you were to knock down the sign, to leave the gate open so the helpless sheep walked out and got hurt. How long did it take you to just set yourself apart a little bit from the insane world? It's outside that door is nothing but madness. But you have to get yourself aside and allow the Spirit of truth to instruct you. And believe me, that's enough for a start, a great start. Wrong is wrong. What else? The world doesn't know that. The world doesn't want to know that. The world says, I'm right, you're wrong. They say wrong is right. Wrong is wrong. Now listen to this. Even after that illuminating thought came to him, he still sat there. You think think it's so easy, so simple. You don't know how you're tricked at every turn. You must be in this room. You're not going to make it without being here. Because you can't see what the truth in this room can see of how easily you're deceived and led astray. He knew that wrong is wrong, but there's more. And this is the more that you have to get. Now I'll tell you what he finally heard inside himself that allowed him to get up and walk away out into the night. He didn't have a car, he didn't have transportation. He knew that. He was walking, he might have to walk for 100 miles to the next civilization. He knew that. But he knew one thing. He wanted to get away. By the way, we'll get into that in a little bit too. Have you ever been with your friends and you felt in danger from them? Your nice, comforting, sweet, smiling friends, and you felt in a hazard? Huh? Right. He felt that. The second illumination came. Wrong is wrong for me. How easy it is to say wrong is wrong for you, for the other man. You'll straighten up, be right. Don't behave that way. Talk to yourself. Wrong is wrong for me. Of course it is. What else? All wrongness that any human being has inside himself is a destructive force. You think you're ever going to tell that to those meandering, roving punks, which is what they were? You get the parallel meandering, roving punk thoughts and emotions you have inside of you and other people have inside of them. You think you're going to say anything right to those punks? I tell you why, they're not going to hear you. There's too much pleasure in doing destructive things. There's too much, quote mark, fun in stealing someone else's property, in vandalism, and even hurting animals. Too much fun in it. And so we have to look a little deeper at the whole problem. Your mind can say, your mind can say, this is right, and your heart can say the exact opposite, this is wrong. You say, I am right. If you can listen, if you can get aside from the gang inside of you, you'll hear your heart say, you are wrong. Everything depends on which one you listen to. Everything depends on which one you want to hear. And that depends on whether you have glimpsed or not the simple fact that wrong is wrong for you. Excitement without intelligence is wrong for you. There's a lot of words, both in psychological and spiritual literature, which describes what we're talking about. Let's look at a few of them. Head says one thing, heart, spirit, whichever you prefer, says something else, called being schizophrenic, right? Split. Called being a double-minded man, is unstable in all his ways. It's in the New Testament, I think. Being in contradiction, being tugged this way, and then the next moment being tugged that way. Peace of mind, peace of spirit, consists of the harmonious workings of all your right parts. But they all have to be right. Well, look what that means. Then you're going to have to start with the spirit. You're going to have to start with the spirit. Spirit of truth. Revealing the rightness which releases relief. If you're going to try to use your own thoughts about what is right for you, you're part of the punk gang. Your object is to get free of the punk gang inside yourself and get aside and be absolutely horrified at what you've been doing. You're not going to do that without a lot of urging, without a lot of right repetition, and without wanting the truth more than all else. And that all else includes, see if you can face this, that all else that you must give up includes everything about your present nature. Your petty little lies, your false pleasures, your wish to be liked and accepted like that young man, to feel that other people think about you. You think about them thinking about you, and you think, well, the fact that they think about me must prove that I exist as me, and see your self-deception. All you have to do is go into a wrong thought in order to get a wrong reassurance of your wrong identity. Those roving punks, having first betrayed their own personal lives, find the greatest of pleasure in driving the highways and yelling out to lost, weak people, come and join us and we'll give you a good time. False religionists pack themselves into automobiles, drive down the highway, smile out at people, give them little pieces of paper with lies printed all over. They come and join us and we'll take you to the end of the road where is eternal bliss. See, if you are lost, seated by the side of the road, and you don't want anything but that, you can be picked up and betrayed by anyone, by the first one that comes along. This is what is called being under the law of accident. You know, this false religion A happens to be the first car that comes along, and so the woman jumps into that car. Another person, religion B, happens to be the car that comes down that road where she is waiting so forlornly by the side of the road. So religion B gets them, religion C. And do you understand, let's see if you understand this. All along the road of false religion, false social schemes, false life of any kind, all along the road, vandalisms occur, vandalisms must occur, criminal behavior must happen because there's only criminals in the car. We try so hard in our work here to find that one person in 50,000 who keeps his sense of separatedness, both from his own wrongness, therefore from the people that are in the car. There is no way when you're 18, 20, there's no way you can avoid being picked up because we're so dumb, aren't we? We don't know, and we're so insecure. The world is so scary, and the world counts on that. It knows it. Some of the biggest devils on this earth are religious people with their titles and their robes, and they're just looking for that 18-year-old. Does that happen to you? Does it happen to you? The 20 years old, they're just waiting. My How evil can a human being get? And after a while, most people travel along the highway committing crimes against others, therefore against themselves, committing crimes, and never, never, never step back from that campfire and look reflectively, thoughtfully, with elementary spiritual perception at those thugs and punks and bums and criminals seated around the campfire. There is hope for anyone who has been picked up and betrayed. There is hope for anyone who will sit back and watch them in action. You can't watch yourself yet. You don't have that power, that talent yet. You can watch other people. And you can describe their actions accurately. What would you call it? Let's start with the physical part. What would you call it when someone laughingly opens the gate and permits the sheep to wander, causing the farmer all that grief, causing the sheep harm, doing something that is criminal and wrong? What would you do? Would you call that wrongness rightness? Billions do. All right. What would you call it if you see a so-called Christian with hatred in his face and manner? Don't you have enough sense to sit back from the edge of the campfire and call that religious hypocrisy wrong? Oh, it's very... do you know how rare it is to be able to find a person who will do that? And I told you earlier, that's one stage. That's one thing. Oh, I tell you, it's a long, 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 long road. We can stop you anywhere along the highway if you'll watch for someone standing by the road saying, halt, here. Most people don't. We've got a sign in here every night. Halt here. They go on. The second part, and it's very difficult, we know that, but you have to do it, and you can do it. Truth will help you. Anything you can't do for yourself, God will do for you. Anything. Even willingness. You have no willingness to yield to truth. Ask God for the willingness. He'll give you that. You see bad behavior out in the world, which is all there is, right? Wrongness is wrongness. You see that. And you begin to sense it a little bit. You see those vicious people. You saw how sick your parents were, your friends are. That woman who gives you glib advice, you see she's a scared human being who'd get mad if you told her she's a fake. Wouldn't she get mad and prove it if you told her that? Yeah. You have to go to the second stage of seeing wrong is wrong for me. I don't want to associate, you would say to yourself, I don't want to associate with those criminals out there who lie to me. And they trick me. And you see that you're being lied to. You see them being tricked. And you finally understand the cause. The cause is the agreeing criminals inside yourself. That's what's agreeing with the criminals out there. The criminals inside yourself. What else? If you want to become a self-righteous religious hypocrite, just point your finger in accusation and religious self-righteousness at those sinners out there. If you want to burn increasingly in the heat of your own hell, just point your finger out there at all those people and call them religious hypocrites without seeing yourself in the very same way. See, when you see yourself as being wrong, that is a constructive, destructive process, right? Doesn't it destroy what is wrong? Therefore, that is constructive in itself. Tired of being betrayed? Look inside and see who's doing it. Now look, you are not doing it. You're not betraying yourself in a higher sense. This is so high. You're not betraying yourself. There's no self to be betrayed, and there's no betrayer. There's only words, ideas, emotions attached to the words. And you hear me say you're betraying yourself, you get excited. Even that teacher in that room down there says I exist. I didn't say that at all. You just don't understand the higher application of the teaching. When you understand thoroughly that there's no one to betray you, therefore no you to be betrayed, the whole idea of self-betrayal vanishes. You have to use it at the start because that's the only thing people can understand. When you say, sir, you betrayed yourself, they can say, he talked about me. See, and it's all wrong, but there's no way. You have to start with kindergarten in the first grade. Are you following what I'm talking about? All right. Freedom from self-betrayal, therefore self-harm, means that you've dropped all concepts that there's someone there to be betrayed and therefore someone to betray you. In that state is revealed release. In that state is the understanding that you're nothing. How's that to face? Your nothingness, now I have to use double words. Your nothingness is your completion. When there is no you to be completed, there is completion which is yours. See, you're not only an individual physically, but you are an individual spiritually. And that is the you we're talking about, not the you that's 20 years old, that's wealthy or poor or whatever. We're talking about a spiritual self. And when that spiritual self is all there is in you, you have everything you'll ever need now and forever. And what you need and what you can acquire is understanding, with a capital U, of all that we've gone over today. You are betrayed, now we're using the word deliberately, you are betrayed only by self-ignorance. You are released by self-wisdom. And take a break. A chronic criminal was released from prison after many, many years. And as is customary in cases like that, they gave him some clothes and a few dollars, escorted him to the gate, made sure that someone could pick him up outside. And off he went to his temporary home after many, many years, his first home outside. And he was an infamous criminal whose escapades and evil deeds were in the papers many times over the years before he was locked up for a long time. So he was newsworthy. And so a newspaper reporter came out to interview him. And they sat there quietly for a long time and went back and forth with the interview. And at one point, the reporter asked him, now, you were in prison for a long, long time, for many, many crimes, robbery, assault, on and on, a long list of assaults against society. And the reporter said, what went wrong? I looked up your earlier years, and as far as I could tell, you had an average family. You had a mother and father, average neighborhood, average income. Went to high school with lots of people who didn't go to jail. Had a brother and a sister. You had what in short was called a normal boyhood. What went wrong that didn't happen to the others in your high school class? Prisoner thought it over, ex-prisoner thought it over, and he said, you know, I had a long, long time to answer that question for myself, and I sought it out. I wanted to know what went wrong. I know that all my friends, we were on the track team together, and we had lunch out at the place across the street from the high school together. We had a good time. they're all businessmen, or the girls are mothers and have families. I was very much interested in trying to decide what went wrong with me. And I went through, listen to this. He said, I went through and discarded, I picked up and discarded hundreds of answers. Because I could begin to see that the answers I gave myself at the start, and which gave me a great deal of pleasure. Have you ever noticed the pleasure that false answers give you, where you go, ah, like that? I knew that there was something wrong with the answers, and that connected in some way with what happened to me over all these years. So he continued with the story, and he said, I finally, Mr. Reporter, I finally understood what went wrong with me. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and it's a two-part solution, answer to it. It started when I was just a young boy. I'd hang around with a local gang, as all boys do. And we went out and we started doing little wrong things, as all kids do, little petty thefts. We stole things. And we did all kinds of little things that weren't right. I grew up, went to high school. The temptations were there, and I took the temptations. We stole a car one time, then returned it, didn't get caught by the police. I'd come home with school lessons, and in some way I would cheat on them so that the teacher never knew. Nobody knew but me that there was the downhill tendency. Something was beginning to be twisted inside of me. Now, Mr. Reporter, that continued after high school. I didn't go to college, but I went out to work. Until by the time I was 21 or 22, I was pretty hardened. And there was no way I could stop the direction of my life. I knew where I was going to end up, because I knew my own weakness. Now, you ask me what went wrong. I'm going to tell you what went wrong in two parts. Do you know, Mr. Reporter, that all the time that I was engaged in petty thefts, cheating on examinations, little small things, most of them, some of them a little larger. Do you know that no one ever told me it was wrong? Not once, when I was a boy and an adolescent, did I ever hear my own mother or father say, son, that is a wrong thing to do and I want you to stop it. Not once. I even went to church, Sunday school. The people at the church and the Sunday school, they knew what I was doing. They saw the little things on that car that I couldn't afford. They didn't ever tell me that I was doing a wrong thing. Now, no one told me that I was living a wrong life, and this is society, but this is just the beginning of the story. The criminal went on to say, now, Mr. Reporter, I said this is a two-part explanation. Here's the other part. Not once did I ever rebuke myself for what I was doing. Not once did anyone out there or anything in here tell me, sir, that is wrong. You will stop. You will stop altogether and you will not do it again. Stop now and never take it up again. No one out there or in here ever told me that. And that is the problem of society in one viewpoint from it. Now, the criminal went on. He said, look, I have years seated in that cell to analyze this, to explain it to myself. And I know better than you, Mr. Reporter, without sounding boastful. I know human nature far better than you do. You see the crimes, and you see the bank robbers, and you see the murders, you see that. I see motives. I see inside. And I know absolutely why my parents, or my friends, so-called friends, acquaintances, no one ever stopped me and said, what you're doing is wrong for you. I know why. Because society as a whole is a coward. Society as a whole does not care about what is right. That's the last thing it cares for. It cares for its pseudo-security. It cares for keeping a person's so-called friendship. You know very well when you tell someone they're doing something wrong, they're going to dislike you, they're going to hate you. They might even leave you or whatever. I saw very clearly, Mr. Reporter, that that's a very, very sick society out there. No one ever had the courage, the simple courage, to help me when I needed help. Furthermore, and I assure you that I'm just as aware of this as I am of the previous statements, I'm aware of how I failed myself. Now you listen to me. You are that society, and you are doing petty things, larger things, petty thefts, psychological crimes. You are doing those things, and oh God, you don't love yourself truly, rightly. You don't love yourself enough to rebuke yourself and say that is wrong, and you will stop it. And I want you to remember the phrase self-rebuke from now on. You get that down somewhere on a piece of paper somewhere. And you will not anymore let yourself get away with anything for your sake. Oh, you understand, do you not, that the punishment for not rebuking yourself for those criminal activities, you understand that the punishment is the same whether it is physical or psychological and invisible? Well, aren't you in prison? Of course you are. You're in prison behind the bars of your own false notions, your own self-deceptions. And don't you pace back and forth in life unable to get outside of yourself? Of course you do. For whose sake do you think we're talking about? For the sake of your own spirit. Now, therefore, you will start with a system of not daily but minutely self-rebuke in which you catch yourself in the act, and let something in you that really knows it's wrong, let it talk instead of you trying to drown it out by your desire, by your wish to what you call being comfortable, or to get something, get the thrill of stolen property of some kind. Self-rebuke. See, listen to this. Self-rebuke without self-involvement. Sound a little strange? Self-rebuke without self-involvement. That's the only kind of right rebuke there is. Let's see what we're talking about. Aren't we always involved with ourselves no matter what we do? Everything is self-reference. Everyone is me. How am I going to be affected by that news event, by that person who I'm sitting next to at the banquet? How am I going to be affected? What is he going to think of me? Over such a small thing as you have, I'm serious about this. You happen to have two rolls on your plate, and the person next to you has one, and you think he's going to think you're a glutton. I searched for a word and came up with that one. And 3 pats of butter, too. 1.5 for each. Don't you? Will you practice at the banquet proper self-rebuke without self-involvement? See, it is the other person's opinion that tells you how to live. Oh, what did the big moral judge give you as a sentence? Shall I tell you? So you tell yourself your age, and that's your sentence, that you've been in jail. We're here to get us out. How old are you to yourself? That's how long you've been in prison. Time to break out, huh? Time to get out of there and stay out and don't do anything that brings you back into it again. Self-rebuke without self-involvement means that you are indeed, listen to this good word, detached. You see that, the little pride, the little excitement, the little belief that you now have got it made. How long does it last? 5 seconds. You sell your soul, your spirit, for 5 seconds of exultation inwardly, a right emotional feeling. And you had better stop it right now with this proper conscious self-rebuke before you get to the point where you're no longer able to do it, because that means the Spirit of truth won't be able to get through to you anymore, and you are a goner. Do you know any goners? I know lots of goners. You know what? Self-rebuke means that you've learned something about your internal structure. You know that little petty greed, that desire. You men looking at the girls, huh? You look at the girl, and if she catches you looking at her, then you feel ashamed. That is self-involvement. See, you referred that back to yourself. She caught me looking at her, and now you're ashamed. You got caught, you got trapped. Nothing like that happened whatever, but all you have is a hardened habit in which you never question anything, and you will start now with proper self-rebuke, which means she catches you looking at her and she gives you just a slightly little disdainful look. And all right, I understand this. You do go through the shock of it. There's always a shock. There is always a shock period between going from wrongness over to rightness. You must go through it. The valley of the shadow of ego humiliation, call it what you want. But instead of feeling ashamed of yourself and saying, now she's going to hate me, and worst of all, listen to this, I got caught. See, ashamed. How many ever get caught? Yeah, you got caught. All right. I want you to know, whether you understand it deeply or not, you can start with knowledge, to know that inwardly, in reality, you are not evil at all. You didn't get caught. There's no you to get caught. Your feeling of shame was simply an opposite of your image that you're a nice person who never looks at girls that way. Try something new. This is part of the rebuke process. You try something new. The next time you get caught in anything, any situation at all, or you did something dumb, something awkward, something foolish, something of invisible criminality, don't you dare make a criminal out of yourself by feeling ashamed, by saying, what a terrible person I am. That is what puts you in prison and keeps you in it. Instead, you look at that event, you look at what you did something, you said something, you thought something. Instead, you say, the only thing that is clear evidence that I'm not a free human being. The very saying of that is freedom. You understand you're not that invisible psychological criminal anymore. You didn't fall into the trap that the dark forces set for you, which the trap always has self-involvement in. Any kind of ego involvement at all, whether you laugh or whether you cry, or anything halfway in between, there is always you in the middle of it, and I assure you that you is non-existent. Therefore, you're not only wasting your life, but you'll get deeper into it until you stop it by self-rebuke, in which you say, well, what do you know? Well, what do you know? I now understand what it means to fall asleep. See, you're getting all these phrases together. Sleep, awakening. And to your delight, and a little bit of astonishment maybe, you find yourself taking a word there, a phrase there, an idea there that you've heard in the classes, and you put them together yourself consciously, and that is what understanding is, because that came from you and the words were simply an auxiliary, something to use as a convenient tool for communicating to yourself and to others. Now, I'll give you a method. We've covered good ground so far. I'll give you another one. Don't go away from this. Don't forget it. Now, let's put it in the positive side of verbalization. Always use this. Never fail to use this, which is this. Any thought, any action, any reaction, anything you do physically, for example, don't fail this now. You say to yourself, did that thought, did that action, did that word serve the newness I'm seeking, or did it serve my usual troubled self? Divide it exactly. Put a line down the middle. Now look, if you got a wall, look, we'll make a wall. You put a wall down the middle. Now you have to decide between one or the other. That thought, that self-hatred, that feeling of shame. How about shame over sex thoughts? That shame, am I going to use that to enlighten myself, or to continue to build the old troubled nature? If you even want to let the event fall on the right side, that very wish will help you to understand, because the very wish to do right, to be right, to grow, to understand, what do you think that is? Maybe you don't understand that. We better cover that just a little bit. If there's even a very small part of you that wishes to learn, instead of to use the incident or the word for ego gratification, if there's even a small part of you, it's even a little small prayer that says, God, I just thought that horrible thought of revenge against someone, that ex-husband. I just thought that horrible thought. And God, I don't know what to do with it, but I want to know. See? You are recognizing ever so dimly that the troubled self, when it tries to do something, it always does the wrong thing while deliberately and maliciously lying to you and saying that it's doing the right thing for you. The wrong self is self-perpetuating, and it always does the wrong thing. It always does the wrong thing because it's against your true interests. Look, you're going to have to build your perception. You're going to have to look much more carefully at that flash. Oh, it goes so fast you don't see it. Let me tell you what's faster than evil. Good. Let me tell you what's faster than darkness. Light. Now, if light is faster than darkness, which it is, and if you want to be faster than the darkness that's taken you over, the invisible criminal part, then you're going to have to ally yourself with the light, so that that light, being your ally, will move faster than the darkness, and you can catch, oh, that sneaky little thief in the dark. Are you aware, I ask you a question now, are you aware of how he has entered your house and robbed you every day of something? Well, hasn't it robbed you of relaxation? Hasn't it robbed you of a simple, nice, pleasant contentment? Oh, hasn't it robbed you of being a pleasant human being? Isn't it strange? There's a little lane we can walk down for a minute. Isn't it strange that a person thinks he can be rude outwardly and be pleasant to himself inwardly. See what he's doing? The old false feeling of life, where he's vicious towards someone, he hates someone while concealing it. Oh, what a thrill. Please see what I'm trying to describe. See it in yourself. What a thrill to hate someone, to lash out. I got something on him. Your teeth go like that, doesn't it? You do that and you're locked up. You do that long enough and they'll throw away the key. All right, back to our method. You have hundreds of events a day, right? If you were to catch just one of them a day at the start, so that you slow down at a certain point and you say, now wait a minute, what was that lesson? The lesson was that I'm supposed to see whether something inside of me is using that event to make me sicker, to keep me a prisoner, or whether I'm using it to enlighten myself, therefore to free myself from prison. Oh, you have to be so careful because of the masquerade of emotions, for example, of moods, how they can tell you that they are liberating you when they are keeping you chained. The mood of self-pity, feeling sorry for yourself. The action of telling a bold lie and not having the slightest notion that in the 3 minutes of talking to another human being, in 3 minutes you told 50 lies and didn't see one of them. Not only were your words lying, but your manner was, isn't it? Have you ever noticed people lie with attitudes? Lie with facial expressions, lie with their body in many ways. Just telling plain lies. Now, our physical eyes are here, so we look out and we see other physical bodies out there, and it's very easy to catch the other person in some kind of a falsehood. You're going to have to do something more than use your physical eyes to see yourself, because you can't do that quite so well, can you? God has given you spiritual eyes by which you can look in any direction at all. You can see the person out there. You can see the person in here. You can actually, with spiritual eyes, see the invisible. You can see both the invisible evil and the invisible good. And that seeing, that consciousness, that awareness is what gives you the encouragement, the rightness, the wish. Oh, thank God, you'll say to yourself, I now see, how dumb could I have been all those years in prison? I now see that to choose God is to choose myself rightly. The two are together. Oh, I was all mixed up on that word, God, goodness, rightness. I thought that was the enemy. And the maze of words, the whole thing gets so complicated. But at last, this clear thought comes to you, and I'll say the same thing in another way. I now see that what is good, that what is true, that what is spiritual, how could I have been so dumb all those years? What is good, what is spiritual is good for me. And all the crimes I committed that I thought was good for me was good for my old nature, which is always sent immediately to prison. You committed invisible crime. Means instant judging. The whole business happens in a second. The police haul you off. The judge bangs his gavel and sends you away, and the warden clangs the door against you. It happens instantaneously, and we don't even see that. Try it sometime. Try seeing yourself sometime when you're offensive, doing something wrong, doing something hurtful. As simple a thing as a hurtful thought toward another person, thinking a malicious thought. Boy, you want to be a spiritual genius without calling yourself a spiritual genius, because that would wreck it, right? You want to be so spiritually awake that you're watching that malicious thought come towards you, and you can hardly wait to welcome it. Your old friend, your old buddy, yeah? He's your partner in crime. You're both going to be put away. But you understand a little bit more now. You've had a long time seated in that bunk down there inside the cell to think it over, so that you can begin to understand that there is something that is stronger than that malicious thought which will put you in prison. And what it is, well, we have to use words. It's unity with God. Oh, it's unity with your own real nature. It's self-wholeness. You're gonna someday, you're not able to do it now. Someday you're gonna thank heaven for heaven. Thank God for God. And here's why. You understand that God is on your side at last. You see, the devil masquerades as God. Do you understand that? Badness masquerades as good, and it tricks people. In the name of God, people murder millions, right? But here's what you can do. See, God, truth, what marvelous spiritual vision it has. You can see the devil coming from the depths of hell, climbing on up, walking on up the steps. You can see it coming up one flight, another flight, finally gets up to earth where it starts circulating with its suits and ties and its smiles and its money, circulating around human beings and doing damage because they're so asleep. There's a spiritual sensing, I tell you this, which you could detect one particular devil. The first flight up from hell he comes to try to take you over. I tell you, it can happen. You'll know what I'm talking about. This alert sentry in you, the spiritual sentry. Look, you're having lunch with someone. You're at a banquet with someone. You're sipping your punch and having cookies or whatever. At the same time that is going on physically, you know what's going on inwardly. You can see the smallest temptation. You can see the smallest temptation to invite that devil in, your old buddy, so that you can get a thrill. See, he's trying to take you over again. But you've learned something. You've learned at the same time, you're having your lunch, you're talking to someone asks you a question over there. All the time, something very much alive and alert is going. Nobody else knows about it. You're at a cafe, let's say, downtown with some friend. Nobody knows what's going on, but you do. And that man, so-called friend, he makes some kind of a suggestion for some kind of an involvement. And you can sense, you can see the devil coming up. Why? You know that man is lost. Oh, look around. Everybody's lost, so that man is lost. That woman makes some kind of a suggestion that, oh, really? Can I get in on this? And see how eager we are to destroy ourselves, thinking that it's going to be a reward. And it always turns out to be a bang of the gavel and another sentence. How would you like to stop going to prison? Would you like that? How would you like to get out and stay out? I'll give you a clue for that because our time is going fast. Put this down somewhere also as a part of what we're talking about. You can say there's three kinds of energies. There's the energy of light, there's the energy of darkness, and there's what you can call natural or neutral energy. You know what the three are, don't you? The energy of darkness, that's what controls this world. The whole world revolves with the strength, false strength energy of everything that is wrong. How much of this dark energy is generating your life, causing you to think the way you think and act the way you think? All right, we're classifying now. That's good. Classification is also information. So there's the energy of darkness, the energy of light, which you can begin to increase as you dislike the darkness, spiritual dislike, which means to get away from it. Natural energy simply means anything neutral that does not have any particular self in it, of any kind of all the natural energy of walking. You can talk, that's natural energy at all. And you can have natural energy then to spread either darkness or light, can you not? Always consider that at all moments of your day, you're in one of the three. This is a simplified classification. You're either living the moment from dark forces that have imprisoned you, or you're living it from spiritual light, in which you're alert, and you can see that devil coming up out of hell. You can see the smoke coming up and the fire coming up. Or maybe you're doing something neutral. You're reaching for the glass of water. That's a certain type of energy. That's not evil or good in that sense, to reach for the glass of water, isn't it? It's something that everyone does, and it serves you on this level. Summary. No one in this world that you know, outside of this room, that is, no one that you know outside of this room is ever going to rebuke you and help you. No one. Because they want you to remain as they are. They want you to remain as you are. And they're not going to rebuke you because they want you as a friend. Where does that leave the responsibility? With you working a lot harder than you have worked up till now in catching wrong thoughts, wrong impulses, or whatever, and you rebuke them. Conscious rebuke is different from your rebuke with self-involvement. We covered that. Conscious rebuke means one thing. Listen to this. Conscious rebuke means that you see. You see that temptation, that devil coming out of hell trying to get you excited. Oh, yeah, really? Can I get in on this? You get all excited about it. You don't get caught, but you see it, and you understand that your destiny, for heaven's sake, is not to get rich or famous or to get that man or woman, but your destiny is to become eternal. And in that you can succeed. You've been given instructions, follow them. Whoever you may be here today listening, you are leading a dream life. You know what a dream is. You've had thousands of them, some of them so severe they turned into nightmares. You are leading a dream life and nothing else. Nothing is real in your life. Not in your spiritual life. The hands are real, the floor is real on their own level of reality. But you have nothing real. Your thoughts are desire dreams. Your emotions are wild dreams. The actions you take are dream steps in which you hope that they'll take you somewhere and fulfill you in some way or other. Now, when you are leading a dream life in bed at night, you're leading a dream life while you're asleep at night and you don't know it. You don't understand it. Why don't you understand it? Because you are the dream. There's nothing else. And when I sit here and look at you and tell you that you are in a dream all day long and all night long, that doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you because you do, for one thing, confuse the physical world of reality and say, well, that's real, then how can he say that I'm living a dream life? Always one way to find out. It's called anxiety. It's called tension. It's called this eternally looking around, looking for that certain person, certain place, certain condition, looking for that and saying, that will complete me. I'm incomplete. That will complete me. Whatever you do, listen carefully this afternoon so that you don't continue to repeat your dreams over and over. And aren't they so boring? Aren't they so maddening, so frustrating? Nothing new, always the same. Have you ever noticed, by the way, the yearning in you for something different, something new? You don't want it. You don't want something new. If you did, you would have had it. What you want is what you call a new thrill, a new excitement, a new false fulfillment of your life, and that's the life of most people. You can see then, if you're listening very carefully, which you should be, where the great, monstrous mistake is. And I'll tell you what it is right now. It's called seeking. Aren't you seeking? Aren't you looking around? For example, if you think you know something of the spiritual life, which is a dream on your part, by the way, aren't you seeking for someone to confirm it? When you know something, do you want anyone or need anyone to confirm it for you? How come you're chasing around? How come you like to be with a large group of other people? You say, I must be right. I'm with them, and they must be right, because everybody's smarter than I am. See, already you've made division by even ascribing intelligence to other people which they don't have. You seek, and you never find. Right? All the time, wondering how you ever got into the trap, and I gave it to you at the very start, and you don't see it, and you don't understand it. Whoever you are, you're in this frantic stage of looking around, hoping for something, wanting something, because you are a sleeping human being dreaming that you're awake. Remember I said one clue to that is your touchiness. I touch you where you're lying about something, or your pretenses have overwhelmed and become part of your dream life. I touch you there and you jump. You say, don't come close. Please go away and let me sleep. You are saying, go away and let me sleep. It is so sweet. There are no challenges. No one can hurt me. How can they hurt me when I've got the castle? How can they hurt me when I've got $1 billion, when I'm young and beautiful? When you're asleep spiritually, there's always the great intense fear of something on the other side of that dream, and you have it and you live from it. Now we're going to talk about seeking from two different viewpoints. The seeking, put the two together. Here's a businessman who hears about an opportunity to make a profit. You're looking for a profit, aren't you? Not necessarily financial. But he hears it's in a faraway country that's hostile to Americans, which he is. So he looks at the ledger up and down. He says, well, it's dangerous over there because they're hostile toward Americans. But if I do go there, I'll make a lot of money. Just as people, here's the parallel already. You say, if I do a certain thing, go a certain place and do something, I'll get a profit out of it, but you're afraid. You're afraid of other people you're involved with, as simple as that. So you keep your distance. So anyway, our businessman went over to this faraway country. The only one he could find there was one or two people who spoke English, and he ran into them occasionally. All the rest spoke the foreign language. And indeed, the opportunity for making money was there. Made a lot of money in the first month or two. Piled it up. Brought it back to the local bank. But because there was greed in him, we're talking about social greed now, because there was greed in him, the hostility of the native population increased. They recognized and they could see that he was different from what they were. And he saw them muttering at each other about him when he walked down the street. So he knew he was in danger, but he wanted the money. So he stayed there. Finally, he even saw something that's really terrifying. This is parallel to your life now. Even the police wouldn't protect him. He sensed that. Finally, he got slugged and knocked down one time, jumped out of a dark alley, knocked him down. Took what money he had on him. Now he went back to the hotel room. Ooh, what a position he's in now. He went into a foreign place. His greed brought him there. Now he knows he's in danger. Now he's how is he going to get out? Now, this is an illustrative story. So he stayed at the hotel room scared. If he went outside of it, he could be attacked again. And he knew that. Maybe his life was in danger too. He finally decided there's only one thing to do. He had heard a couple of English voices speaking language when he first came there. He knew he had to find someone who would be sympathetic to him, someone who spoke the same language he did. So he said, what you're going to have to do, if you can follow the parallel, go out into the world and seek something. This is one side of the seeking story. Seek something, seek someone who could help him. So he went out and he got knocked down again. He got robbed again. But he went out the next day and he looked again, found no one. Next day. Finally he found a fellow American who understood how to live in a dangerous place. And he guided him out. See the parallel? We get into a terrible position by our greed, and it dawns on us finally, gets through our thick heads, that only the truth itself can be out there. If we speak the same language, but we've got to communicate with it. There's something hidden in us, that small part that wants to do right, that wants to get out of there, that's willing to abandon, that's willing to not only abandon the greed, watch yourself on this one, willing to abandon everything that you've piled up in that country. Leave it in the bank, leave it in the hotel room. You can't take it out of the country. They'll search you or you'll be weighted down with it. So he left without anything, following the guide of the fellow American, and he got back home. You willing to give up your dreams, which you hold so valuable, which you think are so nice? If you get mad, you're dreaming. How many of you still get angry, hateful? I want to see your hands, all of you, every one of you. Don't you lie here. You're dreaming that what is it? What do you have? What have you got that makes you feel secure? What are you depending on? You got a series of religious concepts of some kind. Forget it. Don't be so idiotic. Why do you make a game out of religion? Can you think of anything worse? Well, the majority of human beings, in one way or another, have their little play boxes of religious games that they play. And oh, what dangerous people they are. And if you are doing that, you are dangerous. And guess who you're dangerous to first of all? You know the answer to that. Well, are you at the point of detached seeing of yourself, where when you look at yourself, you see something that is threatening to you? That explosive spirit you have that you press down, and you keep it tight in your lips like this, but it's there, and you're afraid that someday you are going to explode and do something harmful to yourself or to someone else or to both, usually, because when we explode it usually affects other people. Here's the question. Now listen carefully to this. Why are you seeking anything at all? Now you go real slow. Why do you have all the game playing, all the eagerness, all the frantic chasings around? Watch how you evade the question. I know you will. I know what's inside of you that wants to evade it, that fears losing its hold on your stupid life. Why are you looking for anything whatever? I'm not talking about looking for bread for the dinner table. I'm talking about an automobile that you need to drive around. Why are you seeking anything psychological? What you call... Why are you seeking God? What folly! Aren't you shocked by what you're doing? That you are seeking God. You have sought God all your life in religious pursuits. And what have you found? I'll tell you what you wretched people have found. You found a wretched life. The seeker always finds himself. It's impossible for him to find anything else. Well, look at it. I'm empty. You're empty. You're anxious, so you're going to seek something that's going to take away your emptiness and your anxiety. Your emptiness, your anxiety, seek something, and it always finds itself. Anxiety finds anxiety clothed as security. I found that man. I found that involvement. I found that romance. I found that activity. Aren't you a little bit weary of running into yourself wherever you go? You have never known anything new. If you were to get just a glimpse of something new, which would be something that is not a part of you, not a part of your acquisition, if you were to get just a glimpse of it, there'd be no stopping you. But you're quite satisfied. And whether you know it or not, you sweet ladies, in your pretty dresses, oh, what hostility you have when truth in the form of a talk, especially personal, not so much in a book, in the form of a talk where there's another living human being involved with you on the spiritual thing. Oh, how hostile, how touchy you can get when truth, speaking through someone, threatens to take away your search. Your seeking is killing you. Your seeking for what you call life is preventing you from finding it. Now that's the law, that's the rule. Now, do you want life or do you want a continued nightmare? Don't you want to stop being a machine? If you do, you'll come back here to every meeting, or down in Los Angeles to every meeting, in order to see that you are nothing but that. Call it portable dreams. You take them with you wherever you go. And there is no refusal in your whole system more vehement, more firm than your refusal to listen and absorb what I'm telling you, so that in the very light and the warmth of the hearing of the message, all by itself, you dissolve the dream. And for the first time, you'll look around and you'll say, well, what do you know? I came to those classes all those years. I heard about seeking. I heard about nightmares. And I was so sure that he wasn't talking about me, not me. Because I'm awake. Look at where I go. I go to classes where they teach you how to wake up spiritually. Look at me. I buy the book the minute it comes out. Look at me. I'm doing something. That's the problem. Of course you have to come here to learn. But you must come here to learn to do nothing. See the connection with that and seeking? You must learn not to seek. You must not look for anything. The seeker creates the need. If you had no seeker, there would be nothing to find. With the absence of the seeker, there's the absence of the goal, the absence of the goal, the absence of the seeker, and you're out of the nut house. You're out of the insane asylum. You're in one now, aren't you? Aren't you crazy? You're crazy. It's not an insult, it's a fact, isn't it? It's not an insult. It's just the way you are. I see you walking around here. Walking around in a dream. Protecting yourself from anything that might come close to where you are lying. And not calling it a lie, of course, but calling it something that's given you something to live for. There is not a single one of you listening to me now who has anything worthwhile living for, except if you have found that first little gleam of light. That alone is worth living for. If you have that, I give you the congratulations of the ages. I know some of you got that much. I know that. But I also know that a lot of you here in this room, you had better do something drastic. You had better do something that is going to terrify you far beyond anything that's ever scared you before. You see, you protected yourself from fear by going to sleep and believing in your dreams, talking about them as if they're real. Oh, when I get married, I'm going to be so happy. When I get this or get rid of that, then things are going to be... Silence, therefore, and the absence of the seeker are the same thing.